Hi there everyone, welcome to a new series I'm testing out called WTF Star Trek, where I'll be going through the entirety of Star Trek and pointing out every single moment that made me go, what the fuck? Now, if this concept sounds familiar to you, that is because this is heavily inspired by another YouTuber called S01E01, who is doing the exact same thing with the Pokemon anime. If any of you haven't seen it and would like to see it, I'll link below to his channel. Okay, so before I start, I think it's worth mentioning that I will be going throughout the entirety of Star Trek, from the very beginning to the most recent season of stuff like Picard and Discovery. And while this pilot episode was never officially released, I'm still doing it anyway because I fucking can. Okay? Now, without further ado, let's begin Episode 1, The Cage. The episode starts with the Enterprise and her crew 2 weeks after the Battle of Rigel 7, in which Captain Pike lost 3 officers, including his yeoman. The Enterprise comes across a distress signal coming from the Talos Star group, which is identified to be coming from a ship that crashed there 18 years earlier. After determining that no one could survive the crash, Pike then decides to carry on to the Vega colony. After Pike goes to rest in his quarters, he calls in the Chief Medical Officer, who, as soon as he comes into his quarters, starts pouring him a martini. He's a doctor, not a bartender. I mean, I know this is the 60s, so the amount of shit doctors were giving their patients back then, it's only fair enough. As Pike is called back to the bridge, it's revealed there are actually some survivors on Talos IV. And No, hold on. With all the technology shown, why the fuck are they still printing paper? It's the 23rd century. Why? On their way to Talos IV, Pike meets his new yeoman, J.M. Colt. Or more accurately, fully walks into her. After she gives him her report, she leaves, and then Pike says one of probably the most fucking worst things in this episode. I can't get used to having a woman on the bridge. But it gets worse, because then he says to his first officer, a woman? Don't worry, number one, you're different. But, well, I guess it's nice to see casual misogyny is still a thing in the 23rd century. Whoop-de-fucking-do! Woo! It's the 60s. I'm going to be saying that a lot this episode. Once the Enterprise reaches Talos IV, Pike leads a landing party down to the surface, and after exploring around for a bit, they come across what are supposed to be singing plants. More like screaming plants, to be honest. Now, what's wrong with this picture? That's right, Spock smiling. What the fuck? He's Vulcan, he's not supposed to be doing that.
Actually, Callum, I think you'll find that Spock is only half Vulcan, so he can still feel human emotions.
Well, yes. But as you literally just said, he's half Vulcan. Meaning he would have gone through the Vulcan practice of Kolinar and wouldn't be feeling said human emotions. So this picture is still wrong. The landing party then comes across the crashed USS Columbia with all the scientists still there, including a young woman named Vina. While the group talk, a member of the landing party refers to the time barrier being broken. Now, if he's referring to being able to travel at warp, that happened 200 years before this. So that begs the question, how long have these people been crashed on this planet? Like, seriously, or is this dickhead just dumb? 3 words. Veiny penis heads. After the doctor gives a medical assessment, he finds that the survivors are healthy, or too healthy, at which point the entire encampment disappears, and the veiny penis heads decide to merge out of the rocks and kidnap Pike. Now, some of you may not know this, but Starfleet regulations actually state that the captain of a ship is not allowed to leave on away missions. And yet everyone in Star Trek history seems to ignore this rule. Rules are there for a reason, people, and this is the reason why. Pike then wakes up in an underground cell with a glass wall, kind of like a menagerie, with the veiny penis heads watching him.
Actually, they're called Talosians, not veiny penis heads.
I don't care. It's funny. The veiny penis heads start forcing Pike to experience illusions, starting with the battle on Rigel 7. But this time, he's saving Vina. And what is he saving her from? This! Oh, Jesus Christ. No. Star Trek, no. Seriously? Go back and watch this bit because I doubt you will believe me. But what they've done here is take what I'm assuming is supposed to be some sort of West Asian warrior, possibly Mongolian, and turn him into a feral beast. Not okay, Star Trek. Not okay. Fucking hell. Just the casual racism in the show is ridiculous. After being pulled out of the illusion, Pike is left in his cell with Vina. He asks her, "Why are you here?" To which she replies,
To please you.
No. Being entrapped in an enclosed space with a woman fawning all over him. Why is it this feels like Gene Roddenberry's personal fantasy? I mean, at one point she even offers to strip. After Vina is removed from the cell, the Talosians, veiny penis heads, give Pike a blue liquid that he's supposed to drink to nourish him. And when he refuses, they force him into another illusion. Now, that's definitely someone's kink. That is definitely someone's kink. Pike then learns from the Talosians that Vina was the only person to survive the crash, and that they want her and Pike to repopulate the surface of Talos IV. And of course, in true 1960s fashion, Pike says to the Talosians that they need a husband and wife relationship to be able to breed or to build a family group or even a whole society. So Pike's making out that you can only be straight and married to fuck. Wow, thank God we've come so far since then. It definitely says a lot about TV censorship in the 60s that this is how they got around saying sex. Like, I bet the writers' room were just thinking, how can we say sex without saying sex? The veiny penis heads then force Pike into another illusion on what looks like the Teletubby set. Pike once again brings up having a comfortable husband and wife relationship to have children. It's the 1960s, it's the 60s, this was filmed in the 60s. Vina then confesses that if Pike doesn't submit to loving her willingly, then the veiny penis heads will force it. Talosians don't understand consent. Confirmed. After none of this is able to make Pike submit, the Talosians then try something that is said to be his secret desire. What is that, you ask? Hanging out with some Orion slavers. And Vina is now a dancing Orion slave girl. That's right. Star Trek is now using casual slavery as a plot device. One of the Orion slavers then goes on to say that the girls enjoy being slaves. What in the J.K. Rowling house elf bullshit is that? Now, most of this episode, I can understand why there's so much bad stuff, because it was written in the 60s, but this I cannot forgive. Even back then, slavery was wrong. Then again, we still have slavery today, so, humans never change! Woo! After failing to destroy the underground caverns, the first officer decides to lead a landing party down to the surface to rescue Pike, with her included. Again, what do these people not understand about the person at the highest point in the chain of command not going on away missions? After the group stands on the transporter pad, the only two women in the group, the first officer and Yeoman Colt, are transported down to the surface. The rest are just left stood there, at which point Spock then does the most overacting in this episode by going, "The women!" Number one and Yeoman Colt are then transported down into Pike's cell, with Vina there, doing something to him. They all quickly figure out that Pike is to choose one of these three to be his mate. And once Pike refuses this, which I completely understand, the Talosians inflict pain on him, saying,
Wrong thinking is punishable. Right thinking will be as quickly rewarded.
Talosians are authoritarians. Confirmed. So, as soon as the women get kidnapped, Spock then decides it's more useful to just leave than it is to rescue the women! Spock is a misogynistic dick. Pass it on. The captive group managed to escape to the surface, with the veiny penis heads right behind them, basically begging them to stay. That is until they uncover humanity's history from the Enterprise records, at which point they realise humans would rather not be in captivity.
Even when pleasant and benevolent, you prefer death.
Damn straight. Let's move on. Once the Talosians realise the humans are too dangerous to be kept captive, they drop all the illusions and the crew are free to go, except for Vina. Because of the crash, The Talosians are the only ones capable of keeping her alive. I mean, do they not know how advanced Starfleet medical care is? And that'll do it for this episode. Let me know if you enjoy this type of content, and shall be back some point in the future with episode 2, or the real first episode of the series. The start's kind of a confusing one. Also, don't forget to subscribe and follow my Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch, which are linked below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Live long and prosper.